Hi everyone, it's July the 1st, 2011, and that means it is the official launch day of Rogue Gadda, the third book in the Dream of Asale trilogy. So all three books are now out there. There are people that have read the entire story and are enjoying it from early reports. So I thought I would spend today sharing a bit of my excitement with you all, and I'll do that by actually reading a bit of the book. So I don't know if you want to stop the video at this point and get yourself a libation just as I have. Fabulous. I'm going to read a section for you now, which deals about what Hampton's going through in terms of trying to find Asale, trying to deal with all the effects of the forbidden text and the ramifications of the events leading up to this and all the various trust issues that have been built up and the way that things aren't going too well between the Guardians and the Bardria at the moment. Reading from the book. Without glasses, because I'm blind. A young woman was slumped on a sofa, her red hair cascading over the pillows. Leaning over her was a tall creature, thick-set with no discernible neck. The crow had 4 eyes stretched across its wide, purple-skinned face. Its huge hands were extended toward the woman, and it was pulling her power into itself. Hampton held his hands up and sent out a stream of his power, aiming to catch hold of the creature and pull it away from the victim. The moment his power touched it, however, the beast shimmered and transferred. Hampton swore and pulled his power back in. He closed his eyes and focused on the threads of essence the creature had left behind, a barely perceptible pathway to its destination. Then he transferred. He was in a dark alley, full of refuse. The smell hit him like a punch and he grimaced. He turned slowly, but the crow was nowhere in sight. He walked around, trying to find its essence and failing. Its creator had obviously met it here, and then shrouded them both before leaving. Hampton closed his eyes and took a deep, calming breath. Blair was now creating some extremely powerful beasts, and was double transferring with them to cover her tracks. He shook his head, then transferred back to the victim's room. He knelt by the sofa and put a hand on the woman's forehead. Her power had been completely drained. This time, Hampton allowed himself to swear aloud. He scooped her into his arms, pictured a white room with benches and coffee tables covered with magazines, and transferred. He marched down the corridor, firing out mental messages. In seconds, Madge Florrie, the head healer of Sklossen, popped out of her room. She looked at the woman and nodded. "In here." She trotted down the corridor and flung open a door. Hampton walked in, careful not to bang the woman against the doorframe. He gently laid her on the bed. By the time he stood and turned around, Madge had been joined by Sarah and Horatio Cormac, the KLH of the Garda. Sarah moved forward and began to wave her hands over the patient. Hampton stepped back to allow her room and felt Horatio step up to join him. "Is that Bridget Kelly? What happened?" Hampton considered what to tell him. As the head of the ruling Bardria of the Gadda, Cormac was responsible for overseeing the safety and freedom of the race. Once, Hampton wouldn't have hesitated to tell him anything. But over the past few months, it had become clear that the Bardria, and the KLH in particular, didn't think the Guardians were doing a good enough job in the search for the forbidden texts. Then there was the fear a member of the Bardria might be supporting Blair. Tensions were growing between the two groups that Hampton didn't think would be good for any of them. "Bridget was attacked by a conjured creature," he said. "A Croaf." Cormac turned his head to the figure on the bed and appeared for all the world to be looking at her, even though he was blind. There were times Hampton wondered how much if the KLH didn't have more vision than he professed to. "She's been hurt." "Power's been totally drained." Cormac frowned. "You took it back from the creature and returned it, didn't you? Why is she still unconscious?" Hampton clenched his teeth. "The monster disappeared before I could apprehend it." It escaped? Cormac's face went red. You let it go? The Iasamir's icy tones broke into the conversation. I'm afraid all I can do for Bridget at the moment is keep her comfortable until we can regain her power. Do what you can for her, Iasamir, and thank you for your competence. Cormac turned and frowned at Hampton. I'd like to speak to you in my office, Sabamir. Hampton wished he could refuse. He really did. But in becoming a guardian, he'd taken an oath that he would serve the Gadda. Failure to do so would mean his death. The KLH transferred, and after giving him a moment to move out of the way, Hampton followed. The KLH's office featured a huge desk that enabled him to sit enthroned on his large leather chair and maintain distance from anyone else. It also gave him a height advantage should anyone sit. Hampton always stood. Is it the forbidden texts? Cormac barked out the question. It's too early to say. Why didn't you apprehend the beast? My first concern was Bridget's safety. I intend to hunt down the beast now. What kind? The KLH stopped, frustrated, but Hampton knew what he was going to say. What kind of Sabamir would let a beast escape? It was a question he was asking himself. Rogue Gadda, get it all good bookstores, and cheers. Bye.